Beautiful friends, beautiful souls, I hope that you are having an amazing day. As it appears that our world is getting more and more mad each week, as angered people all over the planet are angered over the atrocities that are happening globally, but especially the atrocities that are happening over there in the Middle East. I've received some more clarity on some of my past visions and predictions, along with some new visions of the future that I'm going to share with you today. As you know, people are rising up in mass protests globally, just as Spirit told us was going to occur months prior to all of this actually occurring. It is certainly all coming into fruition now. So what is this going to lead to? Will this lead to my past visions of cities going into chaos, looting, more burning down fires in cities as my past visions showed? Is that where we're heading? And where is this all going to lead us in the future? We're going to talk about all that today. Spirit warns that there are several flags. And as you know, the way I say it, the flags that fly ever so falsely, that there's going to be several flagged events that are going to totally change the course of our future. Of course, that's why they do these events, of course. Perhaps I may have some more revealing information about that today and what these events could lead to and when they could possibly occur. Earlier this year, I stated that there would be a return of radical groups like ISIS, which when I made this prediction, it of course always is possible, but we thought that they were pretty much eradicated. The previous administration bragged about eradicating groups like that. But unfortunately, this is coming into fruition as well, as we see these radical groups growing in size and in numbers, sneaking over our borders into our countries. So now what exactly is going to come from this? Earlier this year, I stated that there would be a return of radical groups like ISIS, and that there would be a return, unfortunately, of terror alerts. Do you all recall the terror alerts back in the early 2000s and the whole little scale they would show with the colors? Well, that's going to return, unfortunately, and when I made that prediction, it didn't quite appear like that could be the case. Of course, it's always possible. We were told by previous administrations that they were eradicated, ISIS anyway, but now we know they're growing in size and coming together with all the other groups. This is all becoming a sad reality for the world. Somehow, this may affect and will affect the coming course of events that I just spoke about, changing the course of humanity. So also, Spirit told me that this was a very well-planned and orchestrated agenda that was put together long ago, decades ago, actually. So again, where is this all going to lead us in the future? We're going to talk about that today, and of course, a whole lot more. In my November's prediction video, Spirit warned us, it wasn't a warning, Spirit educated us in the fact that we were going to receive a series of pretty intense solar flares that would, of course, add to the awakening of humanity, along with our spiritual ascension as well. Over the weekend, that's exactly what happened. A series of big solar flares facing and pointing right towards the Earth brought planet Earth into a G2 solar storm warning. This in turn brought beautiful borealis to the northern parts like Oregon, I think Washington as well. So it's happening. So how does this actually have an effect on us? And if so, how does it affect us? How does it affect our planet? And what's going to lie ahead in the near future due to this activity? And more reasons today that we should always be prepared, no matter what. Be prepared, don't be scared, as we say. Did you know that a lithium battery exploded, causing a panic on an airplane? Could this be related, if you recall, to some of my past warnings and predictions about travel and airlines, along with the vision I had in the past of an explosion in the skies related to an airplane? Could this all somewhat be connected? You're not going to want to miss this. Important information about travel and airplanes, mainly the battery explosion that occurred. If you go back to my weather prediction and hurricane prediction video I did in late May, I warned that there'd be several large earthquakes hitting specific areas. One of those specific warnings was for Nepal, who over the weekend had a 5.7 earthquake that claimed at least 150 lives. Spirit tells me that this earthquake in Nepal is actually awakening a sleeping giant. What exactly does that mean? Awakening a sleeping giant. We're going to look into that and try to analyze what that means today. What exactly does it mean, and who else is in danger from earthquakes and major events? Quite some time back, I made a prediction of a discovery of an ancient sword. Remember the visions of that? This was quite some time ago. And I said that this would be found in water. Surprisingly, this just became a reality. And I'll tell you all about that today. And I will also show you some videos, some very strange occurrences in the skies right here in Sedona, Arizona. Right in my front yard. Something you're not going to want to miss. Really interesting. And why should you be concerned about our current economic situation and what you may need to consider doing so that you are prepared for what's to come? A warning today about water and being aware of your water, especially if you have public water. McDonald's $18 Big Macs. And if you thought lab-grown meat was bad, well, wait until you see the new 3D printed meat that they're going to be putting on your shelves in the near future. This and an explanation as to why you may have been feeling scattered, sluggish, tired, and lazy over the weekend. This and a whole lot more on this episode number 90 of Tuesday's November 7th, 2023 predictions update. You will know what time it is, friends. It's tea time, baby. I welcome you to my channel and back to my channel, beautiful friends. And if you're new here, my name is Joseph Tittel, aka Spiritman JT. And if you want accurate predictions, prophecy, truth, and good content, you found a perfect tribe. Please do smash that subscribe. Click the bell, click the all, so that you get all the notifications, hopefully. That's always the goal. And if I don't pop up on your feed or notifications, always come back and check, because sometimes people mysteriously become unsubscribed. Not sure why, it happens to all of us. But anyway, you can find me on Spotify. So download your Spotify.com app. And please, if you're on Spotify, please head on over there, take a moment, and just click a follow on my page, Spirit Speaks Predictions. Because I need to get a certain amount to keep that Spotify going. Otherwise, it's just not worth the time and the effort. Also down below, you're going to find all the links to all my social media, including my newsletter, where you can find content that you may have missed, upcoming classes, workshops, specials, inspirational messages, and a whole lot more, including, I'll be putting this out in the next couple days, information about my 2024 predictions. This year, it's going to be a little different. For, 15 years, 16 years, or whatever, how long it's been a long time. Every New Year's Day, I do the live predictions. This year, I'm going to do it earlier and record and prepare and do a different series. And I'm going to be doing this on Saturday, December 23rd. And it's for those who contribute that can be a part of the recording of the predictions. Because that's what we'll be doing, recording, getting them ready for January. I'll probably release stuff, of course, before January 1st. But Saturday, December 23rd, to those who contribute, I will have the information available in a newsletter in the next couple days, so keep an eye out for that. So shall we move on with some Tuesday's Tittle Tea Time predictions updates? In the past, I have told you that they being, of course, the global elite, want nothing more than to divide us. Not only divide us, but they want to shift our belief system in the direction that suits them and only them, while at the same time silently destroying us and forcing the survivors to endure their great reset into a complete and total global enslavement. I hate to say it, but it's truth. And we are all about truth here now, aren't we? Overall, they want to destroy religion. That's the big one. Mainly Christian religions, Christianity, and their belief system. So now, in turn, they install this global, in turn, after they destroy those, they'll install their global religion. The closer we look at the current situations that are happening all over the globe in these big protests, it seems to appear that they're pushing one particular belief system in our faces, one after another. If you know what I mean, take a very close look at what they're pushing in our faces. And it certainly isn't Christianity. It certainly isn't Jesus. and churches and all that. So this is kind of really sadly a very scary time when it comes to Christianity and the churches globally. This is an attack, whether you know it or not, an attack on religions. This attack now on religion and the current uprising in cities throughout our world makes my past prediction and many of my other past predictions and visions of a huge attack on the Vatican and on the churches much more plausible, unfortunately. When I spoke of these visions and predictions in the past, yes, of course, it always appears to be possible. But with all the crazy world conflict and all that, those visions and predictions look more likely than not, unfortunately. The globalists, as we know, are darn good when it comes to astrology, numerology, and using astrological cycles and numbers to their benefit. Of course they do. And I remind you all that 2023 is a 7-year in numerology. The 7 is all about spiritual ascension. It's all about our belief system. It's all about religion. So this is the agenda behind pushing the whole UFO theory towards us this year. You know, the crashed UFO, the aliens that landed in Las Vegas and all that. That was purposely orchestrated to shift people's beliefs, to make you think and look at things differently. While at the same time, it was basically bowling a strike right directly into the Catholic Church. That's their agenda. That's what they want, more than anything. They have been programming us ever since we were little kids, from the age of 4 up, through their very corrupt, well-orchestrated education systems, educating us the way they want us to be educated, along with doing so through movies, television shows, media, and of course, mass media's fear-mongering news outlets. They're all there to purposely anger people. They're all there to purposely divide us and divide people as much as they possibly can. And this, of course, is part of their propaganda factory for the elite. From their content down to their advertisements, which are mostly, if you watch regular main media, most of their advertisers is, of course, Big Pharma. And they are the biggest supporters of these networks. That should make you really wonder, especially if we go back and look at everything that happened in 2020. Another effect that the 7 vibration has on humanity is spiritual ascension and awakening. It brings out truth. Brings out a lot of truth, and we've seen a lot of that this year, although there's still a lot, and we need to remain vigilant because there's also so many lies out there being thrown at us purposely to twist our brains and to twist our thinking. That's why you got to be really, really, really aware of what you're looking at, what you're watching, what you're hearing, and use your intuition more than anything. Remember, you are psychic and intuitive. Your first instinct is 100% correct. You have to follow through with that. Trust yourself. Trust that intuition. We've all witnessed both the miracles and the magic of the 7 vibration this year. And we also saw the horrors that the 7 vibration can bring as well. Most horrors that we've seen this year are coming from the truth that's been exposed in many of its forms. And as they say, the truth may hurt. Apparently, and that's why people are resistant to the truth, because the truth hurts. When you think you're right about something and then you find out that you're completely wrong, especially that you were deceived or tricked in some way, of course people are going to be resistant. You can't blame them. I mean, nobody wants to look like they were wrong. But that's what they did, a very good job at making us all wrong by teaching us all the wrong information. To add to our spiritual ascension and other magical traits of being in the 7 vibrational year, we had already experienced this year a series of solar waves that swept over us like little tsunami waves, and they add to the current energies on the planet. So over the weekend, if you felt a little bit scattered, sluggish, maybe even a little lazy over the weekend, well, you can blame it on the sun, baby. You can blame it on the sun. I saw the sun. Open up your eye. This eye, the third eye, that's what it does. It opens up your intuition. We had several huge waves of energy blasting over our very active sun over this weekend, sending a wave of massive energy sweeping into our planet, while also placing our planet into a G2 solar storm warning. We had multiple M-class solar flares that were unleashed by the sun and sent energy hurling directly into our planet. This solar storm is at the top of the list for the strength of solar storms in 2023. It's not the very top of the list, but it's on the top list of activity this year. And every time we witness such an event, it's always followed by major world events. And we already had major world events happen before this weekend. So I'd say that, again, a course of other major world events are coming. As I said in the past with the month of November, I wouldn't be surprised if you see somebody like JB fall. Several huge waves of energy blasted off our very active sun over the weekend, sending a wave of energy sweeping into our planet while also placing our planet into a G2 solar storm warning, which in turn brought beautiful Borealis to the northern parts. Multiple M-class solar flares were unleashed by the sun and sent hurling directly into our planet. This solar storm is in the top list for 2023, and every time that we witness such an event, it is always followed by major world events. It brings in a new level of ascension and awakening to this month of November, and of course, it's going to affect the Earth's magnetic poles and tectonic plates as well. With that said, I would expect my recent prediction for November of several large quakes, like that which claimed thousands of lives in Turkey and Morocco and Afghanistan, hitting harder than the last ones. Something bigger. Can you imagine? Let's hope not. But I'll talk to you a little bit more about earthquakes in a little bit. But let's move on to world uprising. A world uprising. Is that what we're witnessing right now? Because back in January in my 2023 world predictions, I shared with you my predictions and visions of a major rise up of people. I had visions of mass protests that I felt was a part of a greater awakening than what we've seen in previous years. And I felt that this was going to be a huge global event. We're witnessing exactly this scenario play out right now. A few months ago, I told you that there would be large new movements that would be forming. Another thing we're now witnessing as city streets all over the world become jam-packed with angry protesters. And of course, new movements that are forming out of this. For the most part, so far, knock on wood, it's been pretty peaceful as far as the protests are concerned. And as far as people not getting to that point of anger and taking their anger to the next level. Unfortunately, there's a combination of events that are still yet to play out according to Spirit by the end of 2023, now through the end of 2023, that are going to take these current energies and these current events to a boiling point. So first, let's take a look at what broke out in Washington, D.C. First, I have this clip here for you. This is nighttime footage right outside of the White House, and you can feel the anger coming through the video as people are reaching through the gates of the White House. Then we have this time-lapsed aerial footage of the streets of Washington, D.C., jam-packed with thousands of protesters. Now, don't you find it interesting that, of course, the current administration knew this was all coming? You know, these protests started weeks ago. As soon as everything happened in Israel, they started forming. So the government knew this was coming. It was obvious. You didn't need to be psychic to predict it. So here's what I find really interesting about it. How the Washington, D.C. no longer looks like a prisoner camp. Remember, a few years ago, they had that whole blocked off where nobody could get anywhere near the White House with fences, high security, checkpoints, all that. Now, all of a sudden, the barriers and the fences are all gone. They aren't keeping out protesters now. And again, we knew that this was going to come. They knew it was coming, and they still haven't blocked out Washington, D.C. We know JB isn't there anyway. He's at the beach. He lives his whole presidency on the darn beach in Rehoboth, Delaware. So suddenly D.C. is open, and now it's free to destroy when paid protesters are given the green light to do so. And believe me, friends, they are there, and they are going to be given a green light. Unfortunately, we will once again witness the woke destruction of our history when the less than smart paid Soros radicals begin to raid our cities once again, destroying our history. That's exactly what these radical groups want to do. And as a matter of fact, if we look back in time, it's exactly what radical groups have done in the past, like ISIS, as we were talking about earlier. Remember, they drove around in the Middle East destroying all the ancient monuments of Iraq, the Mesopotamian stuff, and all that really, the museums, everything. They don't want you to know your history. They want to destroy the history. And a lot of that history is false history anyway, so it's kind of interesting. But they want to eradicate all that so that the future generations have no idea, because they'll be under control anyway as far as their agenda is concerned. They're not going to fulfill their agenda. They'll get there, but they're not going to completely fulfill it, because all the prophecies state the same thing, that the light and the golden age will come out of the ashes. So destroying our history is exactly what these radical groups are there to do. They drove around destroying all those museums, and I got to tell you that, surprise, there's an Illuminati card on that. If you've heard me talk about the Illuminati cards in the past, if not, look them up for yourself. There is an Illuminati card showing destruction of history and destruction of statues. Kind of interesting, right? In Berlin, Germany, their streets became jammed with thousands of people, perhaps tens of thousands of people and protesters angered by the conflict and atrocities happening in the Middle East, mainly Gaza. The people who flooded the streets of Berlin chanted, "Free, free Palestine." Now look at the scene that played out in Toronto, Canada, where thousands of people took to the streets there as well, including a large group who, as you see here, practiced their beliefs and prayers right in the middle of the street. This would most certainly be connected to my past prediction of large new movements coming into fruition in the last quarter of 2023, as I said. These movements, I tell you, are just now beginning to form. There's much more to come, friends. A lot more to come, actually. So I have had visions of cities basically locked down with checkpoints and big fences being put around, making little small walkways in this vision I had yesterday, actually. And it's kind of what Washington, D.C. looked like a few years ago when it was all locked down with cages. It's kind of what parts of China looked like back in 2020 when they locked millions of people into their homes. It sort of looked like that. Sort of. And in my vision, I saw lockdown cities. And I believe we're going to see this on a global scale, especially after the coming prediction of multiple attacks that I predicted comes into fruition. Hopefully it don't. But it's not looking too good right now, my friends. It's definitely not looking too good. But things are not looking good. Again, we have these terror cells that already entered most of our countries, and we already have them still coming over our borders into our countries. So Spirit says that in 2024, we're going to actually even witness martial law on some levels being declared for short periods of time. Do not be surprised if we actually see this come in 2023. It's very, very possible, according to Spirit. The United States FBI just put out, for the first time in a very, very long time, decades perhaps, a major warning of terror. The terror alert, as I told you, would return. This is their first kind of terror alert. That the Federal Bureau of Investigation put out a list of cities and cells that they believe moved into those cities. So if they believe that, then why aren't they going in those cities looking for these cells? That's my question. And there's a long list. Interesting enough, I don't believe Las Vegas is on their list, but I've been talking about Vegas for quite some time. I would think Vegas would be one of the biggest risks aside from Philadelphia, New York City, and Los Angeles. In the past, I made some predictions revolved around the global elite, the oligarchs, and that they would begin to pass away. Or more likely, they'd be taken out. And I don't mean taken out to a movie, if you know what I mean. We saw this actually begin to occur a few months after I made that prediction when it came to the Russian oligarchs who began to drop like flies, and some of the big tech folks that also dropped like flies since that period. But now I feel that we're shifting back into the energy of the elite becoming targets. Maybe even Bezos, for example. I believe this has already begun as far as a written agenda, and I believe that this is going to begin to affect political figures, like people in the Senate or members of the parliament and so forth. Any of them, especially that are in support, of course, of Israel, are now going to become very vulnerable to attack. And now they sadly have also become huge targets. And we're going to see that start to take effect more in 2024, but we'll see it before this year ends. This could also bring into fruition my vision of seeing politician being shot. I saw two different visions of that, if you remember. I saw one that reminded me of the shooting that happened with President Ronald Reagan, where he was shot in the shoulder. I saw similar to that. But I also saw someone standing at a podium and I heard the fires being shot and saw them drop. Now, I don't know if they dropped because Secret Service, jumped on them and pulled them away. But they were my two visions I had in the past, if you recall. Now it would make more sense that these things could really soon come into fruition. And I believe both of those are here in the United States. I could be wrong. It could be other places as well. But I feel like that target of the elite, global elite, politicians and all is back into focus. And I also had a different vision of an attack with a knife. This is probably outside of the United States where they don't have guns. Well, they have them, but the people don't have them. But I saw an attack with a knife on a female political figure. I believe she'll escape unharmed, but this still is going to bring about more concerns and give media another excuse to push fear out to the masses. Which brings me to the war on terror. Remember back in the days of George Bush and even in the days of Obama, they spoke constantly about the war on terror. For 4 years during the last administration that we had, we didn't really hear any of that. We were told that groups like ISIS were taken down completely and eradicated. And soon they stopped pushing that whole ideology to us. But sadly, we know now that the beginning stages of this rising up, all this rising up from the past is here and coming into our near future as well. With recent warnings from the United States FBI that I just mentioned to our continued open borders, welcoming these evil people across our borders, not just the United States, other countries as well, into our countries. And even here in the United States, they even get paid to come in. They're paying the terror people to come in. As soon as they come over the border, because they got to pretend, they got to pretend that they're just, another immigrant, when really they were sent here by evildoers. Sad, crazy. And look, we know this. The FBI puts out this warning here in the United States, and these countries still keep the borders wide open. Tell me there's not an agenda here, friends. It's obvious. So, Spirit warns, too, of several large flags that will fly ever so falsely. Flagged events that are going to change the course of humanity and our future. I don't know what these events are, but it probably goes back to my vision and my channeled predictions of multiple things being detonated throughout the globe at the same time, or all within the same vicinity of time. I can't remember if I saw 3 or 5. It was in my channel prediction video. You can go back and find that. There'll be a link that'll pop up here for it at some point, or even at the end of the video, you'll see the one of my channel prediction video pop up there. I'll be doing another channel prediction video in the next week, so you're going to want to keep an eye out for that, and I'll be talking about 2024. So you're not going to want to miss that. So don't forget to subscribe. And hey, I want to take a moment to thank you and all my supporters who make this free content possible for everybody else. I could not do it without you. Whether you're a member of the community down below or whether you are just a subscriber and those who send in contributions and the members of my Awaken Your Spirit community on Subscribestar. Couldn't do it without you. And I am grateful with infinite love and gratitude. Moving on to the war on T. Hotels. I said something about hotels in the past, but I got a lot more clarity yesterday when I was writing this. Chicago and New York City both pop up very strongly. And Spirit showed me that there are already cells that have already formed. And Spirit shows me even a more sinister plot that is being demised right now, as other cell members are still coming across the borders into the United States, France, and Germany. So 3 places in the UK, UK, parts of the UK. So I do, however, believe and hope that one of these groups hiding out in one of our hotels will actually be discovered, that they will be busted, that our service, Secret Service, FBI, whoever actually catches on to and getting them before they pull off this event. At the same time, they're only getting this one group, therefore angering another group. When they anger the other group, not only would they anger another group or groups, it's also going to bring fear to these other groups, thinking that they're going to be busted next or discovered next. In turn, they will be likely to act out their terrible plan very quickly because they're out of fear of being caught, because their buddies got caught. So as soon as we actually hear, and hopefully we don't, but if we do hear of a group getting arrested, then we must be on high alert right after. High alert after. Because I feel in this case that these cells are in the same city, and two of them could be hotels on the same street, avenue, or even across the street from one another. They're pretty close in with each other in distance in each city. So I do see some type of an explosion occurring in a city. I'm not sure if this is at all related to the hotels and something happening at a hotel. Something different. It could be something different. It could be a gas explosion. It could be just an accidental gas explosion. But I did see it, and it was about 3 to 5 stories high where I saw the glass in the windows being blown out of the building. So, and again, we're going into that fire season with heat and such, so that could just be what it is. Probably not, though, if this all came to me, at the same time. But sometimes we have to divide and we have to analyze what spirit shows. Interesting enough, the Hyatt came to my mind. And then I remembered what happened in the past. So I went and looked it up because it popped in my mind. And it was actually the year 2005. In the year 2005, there was 3 hotels in Ahmad, Jordan that had 3 explosions. One was at a Hyatt. So that would be very strange to see a repeat of that same event, and this is why. 2005 was the 7-year in numerology. We're in a 7-year in numerology. Kind of interesting, don't you think? Same kind of scenario is playing out, fear around this, which makes it even more plausible and possible to happen. Paris, of course, comes to my mind strongly, as it has for quite some time, and other attacks for Paris, coming to Paris, but also throughout the UK. Oddly, New Orleans kept coming to my mind as well, but I'm not clear exactly why that is. Perhaps, maybe this is one of the other cities where these secret evil cells hide out, or there's some other kind of big significant event that's going to play out from New Orleans, Louisiana in the near future. There will also be attacks on all forms of transportation. Now, if you remember, it was about a month ago that I saw fears around school buses. So hopefully we got to keep our eye on everything now. You must be mindful, we all must be mindful. But public transportation, buses, trains, subways. As I recently predicted, if you recall too, that I saw 2 big subway attacks, including several visions of smoke pouring out of a subway tunnel. So even nightclubs, Spirit said, nightclubs and shopping areas will become vulnerable targets. I also remind you of my vision of several gunmen on the streets of a city committing atrocities. So again, I feel like basically what happened in Israel is being planned for at least 3 other countries. United States being one of them. France definitely being another one of them. And Germany might be the 3rd one. And there may be more than that, but I feel like that there's a plan in stake, and this plan's been at stake for a long time. So they're here. They've been here probably for a long time. Maybe even before they opened up the border and to let all the rest of them in. So be aware and be mindful, friends, no matter where you are at, because all this craziness would and could make a lot more sense of other of my past visions that I had of New York City. The Holland Tunnel. Remember, I had visions of checkpoints in New York City like there was back in 2001. I had visions just like that. Spirit also warns to, of course, be prepared with several weeks or several months, if you can, of water and food and anything that you need. I started putting that out to you back in January of 2020. Spirit started urging us to start being mindful of stocking up on things. Buy an extra can of food every week. Add it into your budget. Just one can of food. If you've done that, you got 52. If you've done that years ago, you got a couple hundred cans of food. Just saying. Splurge. Buy yourself a couple extra things. Buy a bag of rice. And have tons of water. I feel fortunate I get my water right directly from the spring, and I go up the spring and fill up my bottles right from the spring. Best water ever. No fluoride, no calcification of my third eye, pineal glands. It's fabulous. So Spirit also warns to, of course, be prepared not only just for a week, but for several months if you can with the water, the food, because I see some type of a water emergency coming, along with a major problem with a city's aquifer system. This felt disturbing to me. Either it is being sabotaged, it's being hacked in some way, or more likely some psychopath is going to pour some type of chemical into it. So I did see people getting sick from water. And this is likely all connected. It's probably all connected to the same thing. So again, don't be scared, be prepared, and be mindful. Get good water. Shouldn't be drinking that fluoridated faucet water anyway. And majority of water filters do not get the fluoride out of the water. And if you have public water, there is fluoride in your water, I assure you. Your kids at schools, they put extra fluoride in their water. It's crazy, friends, crazy, friends. Let's move on to current conflicts. As we turn the page into the current conflicts happening globally, especially that happening in the Middle East, China, of course, is siding with Hamas, insisting that Israel must back down. All this as Bible prophecies become fulfilled, leading us closer and closer to the most important Bible prophecies of all coming into fruition. We don't hear very much about Ukraine anymore, other than the government, of course, using our hard-earned tax money as an excuse to send to them, mainly because the elite already accomplished their goal, for now anyway. And yes, sadly, there's much more to come, much more to come. But they have already lost, sadly, UKR, and it appears that most know this already. So now they're going to use Israel as an excuse, who has already plenty of money of their own, but they're going to use that to bleed us dry of more of our hard-earned tax money, instead of helping veterans and all those that need help right here in our own country. Sad truth. But people believe still that the current administration cares about you. Yeah, they care about you. JB cares about you. He cares about all those homeless people, all those drug addicts and veterans that are suffering on our streets. They care. Just as much as they care about Israel and Ukraine. They care, friends. They do. They really do. Anyway, I feel there's going to be a moment coming up in the near future, just a moment, unfortunately, of some type of a peace agreement. And I feel that this is very quickly going to be broken. We'll likely see this between 2024 and 2025. I'd be shocked if we saw it this year. It's definitely very possible. I also remind you of the prophecies in the Holy Bible that refer to the Euphrates River drying up. I did a video called Prophecy in Plain Sight, I think was the name of the video. I'll try to make sure that pops up here above so that you can check it out. But it was all about the prophecy of the Euphrates River drying up and the demons that were bound beneath the Euphrates River being unleashed upon humanity. Well, that river dried up last summer. Not even just this past summer. The one before that. Last year I did that video. It's drying up. This leads to the other Bible prophecy that states that an army of 200 million are going to cross the Euphrates River once it dries up in order to attack Israel. Well, it's dried up. Next year it's going to really dry up. So how far are we off from seeing this 200 million man army? Is that even possible? Well, sure, if we put Russia and China into the mix, especially China. But now, with everything that's going on now, and the river already drying up to record lows, we can, again, see this Bible prophecy in plain sight. Prophecy in plain sight. Yeah, that is the name of the video, come to think of it. Attacks on Iran. Of course, we know that past administrations have been pushing for a war with Russia and Iran for a long time now. That's what they wanted more than anything. And they got their proxy with Russia. Now we got Iran next on the list, guaranteed. There will be attacks on Iran, and the war that the elite have been pushing for with Iran for a long time now is on our doorsteps. Several large events are going to occur that will make for the good excuses needed by the elite and governments to pose attacks on Iran. With all those concerns, soon China and North Korea are going to join into the list of concerns. And, all these concerns that Russia, North Korea is going to use a nuke, and they're going to use a nuke. I got news for Israel, be one of the first ones to use a nuke. But that's not who we need to worry about. We don't really need to worry at all, but concern. Let's use the word concern. Because my feeling is that, all of our attention is now shifted over to Israel and Iran both. But I really feel that the concern is going to be more posed towards China and North Korea. And if a nuke was ever to be used, it may surprise the world when Kim Jong-un is the one that launches a nuke that hits the Korean Peninsula. That would be the biggest one. That would be where I would likely see a nuke happening first. Now, the visions I had in the past of big explosions happening simultaneously across the planet, that felt dirty to me, if you know what I mean. A dirty type of explosion. Not quite a nuke, but, a dirty explosion could be even worse, depending on the scenario and the situation. Let's all hold in the light and pray that our cities, our families, and our people are safe. Safe, safe, safe. Very, very important. What else is important? And one thing that we're never safe from is the wrath of Mother Earth and the weather. Mother Nature, Mother Earth. This year, we actually have an El Nino effect going on this year. And that's going to bring in the roughest winter weather that we've had in a decade in most places. Record-breaking cold is going to sweep over the entire planet for a short time, while many areas are going to get pounded with one storm after another, winter storm after another winter storm, that is. And another year of record-breaking snowfalls, snow-breaking records, and even breaking the record for the thickest ice after a severe ice storm that's going to leave folks in the cold for many days, and some will seek out shelter in nearby schools to keep warm. Wasn't sure where all this is occurring. I'll get more as time moves on, and maybe we'll do a weather prediction video. But might as well wait and do one probably for the new year. But we'll see. Maybe I'll do a winter prediction video. If we go back to my May prediction video, my weather prediction hurricane video, Nepal was one of the places that I called for large damaging earthquakes to occur. Sadly, as you know, over the weekend, over 150 lives were claimed when a 5.7 earthquake hit Nepal. Crazy to think that that's mild, actually, in comparison to what hit Turkey, Morocco, and Afghanistan. But still significant. That's a lot of lives right there. Although Spirit does warn that whatever just happened in Nepal with their earthquake, Spirit says it has and is awakening a giant. I don't know exactly what that means, but Spirit says it is the awakening of a giant. So we can look at that in two ways. Isn't there a big volcano in Nepal? I think there is. That would be the awakening of a giant, for sure. Now, that could be the awakening of another bigger earthquake, but I took it more as a volcanic type of thing. Spirit saying that the earthquake in Nepal was the awakening of a giant. And if it's the awakening of a giant, I would think it would be a volcano that's been asleep for quite some time. So if anybody has any information about that, what that could possibly be in Nepal or near Nepal that's awakening this giant, please do leave a comment down below. Your comments are important to me, and I do read them, so thank you for taking time to leave a comment. Oregon just had some really amazing aurora borealis effects in the skies from that G2 magnetic storm, and I saw today that storm's still hitting us. We're still getting the residual energies of that. This, in turn, is going to have a major effect on the tectonic plates. This would go back to my recent predictions that revolved around earthquakes hitting places like California. Washington Washington, state of Washington, but also more activity between India and Nepal. And I still warn Greece, Italy, that whole area. Italy's got a great shaking coming. Even things around the Vatican will shake, according to Spirit. So interesting activity that's being ignited when it comes to the tectonic plates this week. Now, I would have to point you to my past predictions revolved around earthquakes. I don't remember them all. I didn't tune into that or have time to tune into all that today. I think it was 2 weeks ago, actually, that I did some map scrying. I might have even done it for my November prediction video. Let's talk about our current economic situation, because it's pretty bad, friends. The economy is slowly raveling into a complete and utter collapse and destruction, as we're all witnessing more and more banks locking their doors, as I told you a couple years ago was going to happen, and it is now happening. Doors are closing. Did you know that in 2023, more than 3,000 banks have gone belly up? There is literally a collapse of the banking system. And over this past weekend, if you may be aware, you might not be aware, but over this past weekend, those with Wells Fargo bank accounts couldn't transfer or withdraw any of their money. That's one of the things that someone said. I forget who said. It's a part of the agenda plan that when they do the collapse of the banking system, they're going to make sure they do it on a weekend where you can't access your money for the whole weekend. This is why, my friends, you must have money aside. Have some cash to get you by. Get a gas can and make sure that your gas is always, you have extra gas aside. It's another part of your prepping besides food and water. Because if there's a power outage or something, you're not going to be able to get gas. If you can't use your credit cards or anything, gas stations are only going to take cash. So make sure that you always have a full tank of gas and a gas can filled with gas on top of it. Keep your tank full. Make sure you always do so. Be prepared, as I said, not scared but prepared, and have money aside. Buy things physical. You know, so many people I know that buy gold and silver. Oh, I bought all this gold and silver. I'm like, how much food do you have in your house to last you? Oh, not that much. I'm like, but you went and bought all that gold and silver? Why would you not fill up your garage or your basement with food first? Most important, get yourself a generator. Buy the things that are going to help you to survive. Even gold and silver isn't edible. Remember that. Money, gold, silver ain't edible. Now, if you have all that food and you got, say, 6 months worth of food and water stored aside and survival gear, then yeah, definitely buy some physical stuff. Gold, silver, coins, artifacts, things like that. The U.S. banks hit by deposit delays, according to this article out of New York and the Controlling News Network. Multiple U.S. banks were hit with deposit delays on Friday caused by an error at a payment processing network, according to the Federal Reserve. Yeah, sure. The clearinghouse, which operates the automatic clearinghouse system, which allows banks to send electronic payments to each other, experienced a processing error with a batch of bank transactions. Banks send everything from direct deposits, paychecks, to customer bill payments for mortgages and utility bills through this system, the AH system. The clearinghouse told CNN on Saturday that the issue impacted less than 1% of its daily ACH volume in the United States. It's a warning, friends. I don't like Wells Fargo as is at all. Even I don't really like any of them. And you got to be careful even with credit unions. You know, before it was like, oh, get a credit union, but they're vulnerable too. They're all vulnerable, friends. The biggest ones are going to be the ones that survive, but of course they're going to survive by kind of screwing people on the way. Remember some of my past predictions of them taking your money and running. I told you that with cryptocurrencies, and look what happened. Look what Sam, whatever his name is, who finally was, found guilty. He was found guilty. Of course, they're going to appeal. And, he's more of a scapegoat than anything. He's just a very less than smart, but less than smart. You know what they say? Those geniuses have no common sense whatsoever. It kind of sounds like he's probably a genius with no common sense. That's why he got caught. He was set up, Spirit just said. It was all kind of set up purposely. Anyway, I had similar experience myself with PayPal over the weekend. That's right. First, I went on my PayPal and I was completely locked out, and it said I couldn't do anything until I provided information. I spent over a half hour providing all this information, my driver's license, bank statements. I had to answer all these questions, and I had to talk about all the transactions and what they were. Like, I'm supposed to know everything that goes in and out. Well, I do, but, it's just some people don't. And I had to do that. Then they activated my account. And then a day later, I went on my account. I got an email that people online were like, oh, that email's a spam. No, it's not, because I went directly on my PayPal, and there was this message right here. This very, very disturbing message. Interesting enough, if you read closely at that message states that they get to keep your money for 180 days. They are hoping you'll forget after 180 days. What gives them the right to hold your money for 6 months when they decide to freeze you out of your account? To keep your money for 6 months. And by 6 months, they'll probably hope you forget and don't come for it. Is that their little thing? Not only that, there's other interesting things about their little policy. Someone just showed, what does it say? Oh, that's McDonald's, not them. But we know about, their $2,500 fine if you post something they don't like. They lost $11 billion in business that day because everybody deleted their accounts. My account's back up again, oddly, after receiving that message that was definitely directly from PayPal. But at the same time, I'm working very vigilantly on getting away from there after that experience. Because, they have my money frozen. How do you pay your bills if your money's frozen up? This is all the other reason to take some money out of the bank and have cash in hand. Have cash in hand. Don't have all your cash, because what if everything collapses and your cash ain't worth anything? That's why, again, it's good to be stocked up on things like food, water, survival gear, and then gold, silver, and physical things that you can trade. Remember, I talked about in the past the barter system coming back, that there would be a return of the barter system. Oh, we're kind of seeing that happen already. So McDonald's, just jacked up the price of a Big Mac. The price of the Big Mac just went to $18 for a Big Mac McMeal. Yes, a Big Mac McMeal. You can buy 2 pounds of ground beef at the groceries for that price. Just saying. 2 pounds of grocery beef for that price. I can go buy a pound of bison, because that's like $10.99, $11, and buy a bag of potatoes and make a whole bunch of burgers and fries for $18. Just saying. It's mind-blowing to me. To buy a few, you can actually take that $18 and not only buy a couple pounds of ground meat, bag of potatoes, and still have some change left over. So I told you, if you remember, not that long ago, we talked about the WEF. We know that the WEF is pushing for us to no longer indulge in beef. They get to have their steaks and burgers, but you're not allowed. They want you to eat their bugs and their cricket flour. And when you're buying snacks now, make sure you look at the ingredients in your snacks, because a lot of people are buying these snacks at places like Whole Foods and not realizing that it's made with cricket powder until you read the back. Kind of creepy. We don't know what crickets do to the body. Some say the shell of crickets is actually toxic to the human body. I don't know if that's true, but some say that. So it's only a few years ago, about a few years ago, that I predicted that we would see fast food restaurants drop like flies, including McDonald's. I told you that they were going to start shutting down stores and going belly up. Well, that happened. Hundreds and hundreds of stores, McDonald's, all of them, Burger King, and all of them have closed and laid off thousands of people. Closed hundreds of stores. And it's continuing to happen. And now, an $18 Big Mac? That's just going to push my predictions into reality a whole lot faster. A whole lot faster. But they don't want that. Because fast food industry is one of the biggest contributors to their global warming. If really that's all true. If it's really all true. They're the biggest contributors. Fast food. That nasty, nasty food that might not even really be beef. We don't know what's in that food. Just saying. Just saying. They found all kinds of things. I remember back in the 70s, they found horse meat. That they were buying the horses and putting horse meat in it. Just saying. That was a big thing. Then there was another one. I remember they were putting worms in it. Chopped up worms. Just never know what's in your food nowadays. That's why it's better to just make your own and cheaper anyway. Did you also know that it was revealed in the McDonald's clause, their term for their apps, their term agreement for the app on your phone, where it tells you that it requires their users to waive their rights to a trial by jury. It's so bizarre. That's right. McDonald's app and their terms of agreement makes you and requires you to waive your terms to a right to a trial by jury. Insane. Have you noticed the price of food at the grocery store? I'm sure you have if you do the shopping. It is literally 2.5 times higher than 2021, 2 years ago. There was a guy, he took his shopping list of everything he bought in 2021, and he went into the grocery store, same grocery store, and bought all the same exact items. One thing that he noticed with the items is that a lot of them were smaller. Same bag, but less quality. So, maybe you were buying a bag of chips that was 16 ounces and now it's 14 ounces. So they're shrinking down the size. So not only was he not getting really the same amount of food, because a lot of it was cut, but he paid 2.5 times more. I forget what it was. His bill originally in 2021 was $81. And when he went and purchased the same items, it came out to almost $250. Same grocery store 2 years later. Just saying. And Americans don't see it like in other countries where their shelves are bare, where they're having problems already, friends. So whether people want to admit it or not, there is an attack on our food, our farms, and of course, our beef. And not only are they pushing the no meat agenda and eat bugs instead, their campaign to, oh God, I just had a brain fart. Total brain fart. Oh, what's it called? Oh, lab-grown meat. Their campaign to bring in the lab-grown meat. And the lab-grown meat didn't go over very well for people, now did it? People didn't really buy it. Some people did, but people weren't buying it, especially when they discovered that it was actually less healthy. It was actually worse for you because of the oils and all that they put into these fake, well, not even, I'm thinking of the fake beef. This is lab-grown beef that I'm referring to. So I just got those twisted in my brain. So now what do you think of this? If you think lab-grown meat's creepy, check this out. This is the new way of creating beef through a 3D printer. That's right, my friends. This is their new alternative that's going to sell like hotcakes, according to them, to help save our planet. Meat that is printed on a 3D printer. That is gross. It's interesting to me. It fascinates me, but it's gross. Straight from your 3D printer right on over to your grill, baby. That's creepy. I thought lab-grown meat was creepy, but this tops off the creepiness to me when it comes to meat. And you don't know, they're going to put this in people's grocery stores, especially in other third world countries, and not even to care. Tell them. They're just going to put it in there, knowing that it's probably worse for them, maybe even deadly. And if prices aren't high enough already, people are already having struggles on levels that we haven't seen in generations. One of Lucifer's hubs, as I call Lucifer's hub, not Walmart, but the other one, Amazon, just earned an extra $1 billion, ripping off consumers on a whole new level. Did you hear about that one? It's messed up. It's truly messed up. Amazon earned more than $1 billion through a secret price-raising algorithm. FTC. The e-commerce giant already deployed a secret algorithm internally known as Project Nessie that raised the prices on its online stores. Amazon created a secret algorithm that helped the e-commerce giant generate more than $1 billion, the U.S. Federal Trade Commission alleged in a new court filing on November 2nd. In September, the FTC and 17 states filed an antitrust lawsuit against Amazon, but many details were withheld until November 2nd, when a version of the lawsuit with a few redactions was made public. Of course, I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but you got the gist of it. Knowing that many of their websites set their prices to match Amazon's, the company alleged developed Nessie to increase prices on products that other retailers would follow. Like Jeff ain't got enough damn money already, right? Like that dude ain't got enough money already. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Another major concern is no one that seems to be talking about, at least here in America, is that, again, the Euphrates River is drying up completely. But not just the Euphrates River being a place of a concern. There's even a bigger one that's a bigger concern. The Panama Canal, friends. The Panama Canal. The Panama Canal is drying up. You don't hear about this in America. They're not talking about it. They're not telling us. And this is going to end up igniting some type of a conflict for Panama in the future. The boats that come through the Panama Canal aren't able to get through. Some of them aren't able to get through. They're not able to get enough through because the water levels are so low. And already that's affecting all the imports globally. Right? Interesting. Nobody talks about that. They're also not telling you about maybe they are. I don't watch local news or news. But recalls and heavy metals. And I'm not talking about rock bands like Black Sabbath and Megadeth. I'm talking about the heavy metals that are in our foods like Tyson's chicken nuggets that were just recalled because of metal tin in the nuggets. How does metal tin get in nuggets unless you put it there? Just saying. Applesauce recall for kids, the little things they squeeze the applesauce out of. Heavy metal, lead to be exact. How's lead getting in the applesauce for kids? For kids. This is getting into kids stuff. Almost seems targeted. But did you notice there's a theme here? Heavy metal contaminants. And did you hear about the high metal content discovered in McCormick spices and seasonings? I don't use those. I buy my organic spices by the pound online. But yes, McCormick Spices had a big discovery of heavy metals in their spices and seasonings. So my question is are they putting this in our foods purposely? That's some belief. Or is it likely something that is being derived from what they're spraying in our skies for over a decade now? That many call a conspiracy, but we know is an actual fact. Some people scream conspiracy when you talk about the chemicals being sprayed in the skies, and some people scream contrails in both. Contrails and conspiracy. We know 100%. We've done our research here. And they are spraying our skies, and they're doing so with heavy amounts of aluminum and barium, iron, and God only knows what other alleged metals that they have been spraying. And this is all done with the system, their global aerosol injection geoengineering system. Look it up for yourself, friends. There's patents on it. They do it. It's a fact. Is this how the metals and heavy metals are getting in our foods and everything? Well, I mean, that wouldn't explain metal chips and Tyson's chicken food. That'd be something completely different. But when it comes to McCormick spices, it would make sense that they're coated, the plants are coated with it somehow or another, unless they're using it as some kind of pesticide that has heavy metals in it. That's potentially possible as well. But it has also been discovered all over the planet over the past decade and a little bit longer that even in the middle of the forest, they are finding heavy concentrations of heavy metals that weren't there before. It's in the waters all over the planet. And it's only in these places where they use their aerosol injection geoengineering. So, just thought you might want to know about those things. Watch them Tyson chicken nuggets. I wouldn't buy that garbage anyway, personally. But I know people have kids and it's easier. It's pretty easy to make them yourself, too. Buy a chicken breast, slice them up. It's pretty simple. It's really quite simple, actually. But anyway, remember, do not be scared, be prepared, my friends. Just like having car insurance. You have car insurance, why? Just in case. You have homeowners insurance, just in case. Well, therefore, you should have food, water, and an escape plan, just in case. It's pretty simple. See, the people have car insurance because they're forced to have it. If you were forced to stock up on food and water, you would have it already. This brings me to airlines and explosions with airlines. I had visions of an explosion of a plane. I had several, and one of them did happen when that Russian oligarch or whoever that guy was, and his plane was blown up, and we know that that was done on purpose. But I saw something about, I saw an explosion inside an airport, probably related to baggage and baggage claim. But I also saw something exploding on an airplane. And I felt like that could have been related to the baggage as well. Not related to a battery. But that's what happened on a plane just recently. I don't have an article here for it, but you all heard about the battery explosion, and you saw the video clips of the people on the plane spraying it and trying to put out the fire on the plane. Now they're telling us, well, imagine if that was on the plane cargo. Nobody would have been down there. Nobody would have known the plane was on fire, which is very true when people do stick stuff with batteries in their compartments. I don't think that's more of the concern. But you watch when they start making some kind of new special thing in the future when it comes to traveling with lithium batteries. Maybe even an outlaw in some places of traveling with lithium batteries. Not just travel in general, but travel on airplanes. We are in that energy of accident-prone energy. So, accidents and incidents too, both are going to happen. So again, as I've been telling you for a while, when it comes to travel, be vigilant, be aware, more than anything. And if you can prevent traveling in December, I would definitely not want to travel in December unless I had to, only because it's a Mercury retrograde and the month of December is going to be travel nightmares, as I predicted in my November video. Travel nightmares are going to start this month. If you're not in a hurry and you're not worried, then it shouldn't be a nightmare at all for you. Just be patient and you'll get to your destination eventually. Eyes to the skies. Eyes to the skies. So check this out. I was outside last week. I meant to show this to you in last week's show, but I forgot. And I was outside and I noticed this in the sky. These things, spider webs. At first, when I first saw one, I'm like, oh, look at that cool spider web floating in the sky. But then I saw another and another. And then it just looked like the whole sky was filled with nothing but web. I don't know how well you can see it in this video. You should be able to see it somewhat well. But look at all this falling from the skies. Insane. And I thought, well, they chemtrailed the day before that here. It sprayed the heck out of us. But that was the day before. And I'm like, I've lived here for years. I've never seen such a phenomena in my entire life. Well, apparently that happened a couple weeks prior in California. Apparently it's an actual thing. Who knew? Something to do with baby spiders that migrate and they float through the skies. Well, let me tell you, from that video clip I'm showing you, there's thousands of spiders because the whole sky's filled with webs. It was a very neat, cool phenomena that I never knew existed, and I wanted to share with you all here today. At first, I thought it was something like, what is that? I sent it to MB333 to see what his opinion was. Never got a response, but I didn't expect one either. I thought it was cool. I wanted to share it with him. Maybe he could educate me, but somebody else educated me on it. So this brings me to my conclusion today. Finally, this evening, a look back into history and another prediction that has come into fruition. An ancient sword has been found. And I said this a while ago. And I remember when I said it, someone said, oh, well, this happened already. And I'm like, no, that's not it. Because there was one found in a lake or something. But now we found another one. This one was at the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea. A 900-year-old sword dating back to the Crusades found at the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea. A man who was diving off the coast of northern Israel, not far from his home, recently stumbled onto this 900-year-old sword dated from the time of the Crusades. A resident of the town, what's the name of that town? Altite, spotted the sword in a few other actual old artifacts at the bottom of the sea. And here's a couple pictures there. There's the article so that you can see what it looks like. Really kind of interesting. Look, it's just completely coated. So I'm sure they can get all that off of there. I'd like to see what it's going to look like once they get everything off of there. And with that said, my beautiful friends, I must leave you with that. But I got a couple other things I want to tell you. I got 2 videos I'm working on. One is on the most dangerous game in the Ouija board. You're not going to want to miss that. But I'm also going down a rabbit hole of information that's shocking information. Shocking symbolism and secrets hidden on a website. And together we're going to interpret those secrets in the pictures that are posted on this website. It's pretty wild. I hope to have both of those available for you before the week ends. So be sure to subscribe. Be sure to check your notifications because you know I'll be back soon with some more information. Thank you so much for your contributions, for being here, for subscribing and showing your love by clicking that like button. Because I love you, so show your love, click that like button, and remember to celebrate life, celebrate you. Be bold, be true, be kind, be you. Because you're friggin' awesome. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Namaste and much love.